in the 2026 NFL Draft, the AFC South Kings, Indianapolis Colts select C.J. Allen, linebacker from Georgia. Go Dogs!
Here, Indiana move. We from Indiana move. We from Indiana move. I'm an Indiana move.
Touchdown! I-N-D-Y! And he lost the ball. There's a fumble. Who's got it? The officials say the Colts do. Great team win, baby! Drops it way downfield, intercepted, coming forward and making the INT for the Colts in the back end. To see the Colts win Super Bowl. Hey, win on three. 1, 2, 3, win!
Welcome back to the channel. This is Marcus Sniffles, and we're here to recap the Colts 2026 draft, and we're also going to talk about the possibility of Kenny Moore and Anthony Richardson possibly being back with the Colts this season. Before we get started, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. We drop videos every Monday at 7 in the morning, so make sure you guys like, subscribe to the channel. We're moving our way up. We passed 1,000 views, 1,000 subscribers a few weeks ago, and I appreciate all the support, so let's keep running it up. So let's start with the draft, and we'll kind of give like a quick overview, prediction, feel for the players that we got this year in the draft. Now, I'm not a big like grades kind of person, like, oh, well, this team got an A, this team had a bad draft. Like, to say whether a team did good on a draft before these players have even got to the city doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. It's all about projection, and I get it. It's a lot of, talking heads, getting people talking and getting a conversation going and things of that nature. So I understand that, but I don't really take into account what people grade drafts, as time goes on. Because if you look back through some of the grades that our drafts have got, like Darius Leonard was, called one of the worst draft picks of that year. Quentin Nelson was not considered a high. He wasn't a high value position because he plays guard, and it's just like, okay, those two players are probably Hall of Famers. So like, what are we really talking about? So we at least have to see them in training camp and practice in a game before we can actually determine if the draft pick was good or not. And for me, a lot of people like to wait 5 years to determine if a draft class was good or not. Now, I did that for the 2021 draft class. I did a video on that. So you got to give these guys time. It takes time for players to develop, things of that nature. But social media content game, it's like, everybody wants everything now and fast and quick. So I understand that part also. It's just a little bit annoying. So let's go with our first round pick for the 2026 NFL draft. The Colts select Sauce Gardner. Now, I believe the Colts got the best player in the draft by picking him at 16 this year. We got a proven top 5 cornerback who is a Pro Bowl, All-Pro, Defensive Player of the Year candidate. So I'm happy with that selection, and I will be happy with that selection again next year because there isn't a single cornerback in this draft that is better than Sauce Gardner. You made it this far. If you have not liked the video at this point, what are you waiting for? Just like the video. Hit the like button right now. I'm talking to you. Make sure you like the video and subscribe and drop a comment. All that stuff. This is a threat. Not a threat, a warning. But it could be a threat. Just do it. So now let's go with our second round draft pick. Out of Georgia, linebacker C.J. Allen. He's ranked top 5 at his position, and according to Chris Ballard, he's going to be the starting middle linebacker. He's going to be a green dot guy going into the season. As far as his tape goes, he's not super great at coverage, but he runs through blocks and is explosive, like an explosive tackler, good run stuffer. And I talked to one of my homeboys who's a Georgia fan, and he says he's a light version of Roquan Smith. Now, if you were to ask Colts fans this past season, would you trade Zaire Franklin for a light version of Roquan Smith? I would have killed for that last season. Lou Anarumo probably would have killed for that. So, yeah, he's going to be a rookie. He's going to make some mistakes. He might not be the best in coverage, but the main theme of this offseason for defense was to get younger and faster. And that is what we did at linebacker, and it needed to happen. And I'm glad that we're finally going to the SEC to find defensive players. And that goes into our next pick out of LSU, safety AJ Harley. I believe that by the end of the season, he will be our starting safety. He'll be paired up next to Cam Bynum. Looks to be the Nick Cross replacement. Adds a lot of versatility because he can play free safety and strong safety. He has very good hands. Like, he's a ball hawk. And when it comes to like filling lanes and run defense, he gets downhill very fast. Like, he sees it and he just explodes. So I'm glad that we double dipped as far as defense goes and going back to the SEC. The next pick we got Jalen Farmer, offensive lineman from Kentucky, another SEC. That's 3 SEC players in a row. In his time last season, he only allowed 3 sacks, had 1 flag, and he's 6'5", 315. Now, he's one of those players, like, I look at the size, I look at the height, I look at the weight, I look at the competition that he played with. Tony Sperano is going to make it work. I honestly, I don't care. You could draft a lineman in the 7th round. If Tony Sperano wants him, Tony Sperano will make it work. So I believe he's going to be competing for like the guard position, right guard. But if he doesn't beat out Gonzalez, he'll just be a backup and possibly a swing tackle. But I have all the faith in the world that this guy will be a productive lineman for this team. The next pick we got is Bryce Bodiger, linebacker out of Oregon. He's probably going to be a special teams guy, a great 3rd down coverage linebacker, undersized run stuffer, but he knows where to be at. Like, what he lacks in physicality and athletic ability, he makes up with like instincts, and he's really, really good in coverage. Like, if you watch his tape, he knows how to cover, and he might be competing with Hunter Wooler, who was originally going to be probably the 3rd down pass coverage linebacker. If we can have 2 of those guys, then why not? And for the record, I'm completely fine with Lou Anarumo rolling out, CJ Allen, Bryce Bodiger, and Hunter Waller as the core 3 linebackers. Like, I know that we brought in some guys and signed some other free agents, big money free agents to be, the other starters. But if these 3 rookies and second year player, if they get a lot of play time, and like, I'm fine with them learning on the job. Like, obviously you want your defensive players to be perfect and be in the right spot and make the right plays. But if what it takes for these guys to develop to be better is by playing, I'm kind of fine with the youth movement as far as being on the defensive side. Next player, we got George Gomes Jr., defensive end out of the University of Florida. Again, another SEC school. He's more of a project player, probably won't see the field that much. A speed rusher and just a freak athlete that, just needs to work on technique and having counter moves and mentality kind of things. Kind of think a little bit of Anthony Richardson at defensive end, like all the negative things that people thought about Anthony Richardson as far as lack of experience and the headspace stuff, like that probably applies to George also. Next person, we got Caden Curry out of Ohio State. Now, what's funny about Caden is that he replaced JTT when he got drafted. So he pretty much took over that spot, and he was very productive at Ohio State. He played on special teams also. He had over 10 sacks, a few block punts. I don't feel super confident about him getting a lot of playing time just because JTT was a 2nd round pick and he barely saw the field until like the second half of the season. And this guy is a lower round pick, like a 5th round pick. So for him to get on the field, it's going to be a little bit tougher, but we'll see. I'm rooting for it. Next guy, we got Seth McCowan, running back out of Kentucky, another SEC school. He just seems to be competition for DJ Giddens. I liked what I saw out of DJ Giddens from college. I think as long as he learns how to pass block, he'll be fine, but we will see what Seth can do. And the last pick we got is Deion Burks, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. Just an undersized speed guy. If he's able to make the team, the way he's going to make the team is by playing special teams, like being a punt returner. he's probably going to be competition for Anthony Gould. A lot faster, a lot more explosive, can run away from people, very, very strong. So if we go to, a 3 wide receiver set, you can have Pierce on the outside and Josh Downs can play on the outside as well. And you put Deion Burks in the slot with Tyler Warren at tight end. I think we could make something happen. I think has a good shot of making the team just because he plays special teams. Now, normally I did this video last year and I kind of had a player that I wanted to focus on, like who my favorite player of the draft was. And I was going to do that this year. And I'm kind of hesitant to do that. Like obviously, I don't really believe too much in jinxes or curses. But the player that was my favorite player of the draft last year was Justin Wally. And he immediately got hurt. So I kind of don't want to put that. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if I'm the problem. But I don't want to put that really out there too much. I don't want to get blamed for it. But if I had to pick a guy that I want to focus on as my favorite player, it's got to be CJ Allen. Like, we desperately needed a productive linebacker to go out there and play. And I think he's obviously going to be a day one starter. And I feel like he's going to be very productive because if you're productive in the SEC in Georgia, being a first team all defensive player, I feel like it's easier to translate that talent and productivity to the NFL because playing for teams like Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, even now Miami now, those are professional outfits. So if you can succeed there, your chances of succeeding in the NFL are greater. I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys something. About 90% of you guys that watch this video are not subscribed to the channel. Don't be a weirdo. Subscribe to the channel. Don't be part of the 90%. Be a part of the 10%, and let's get that 10% to 90%. So 90% of you guys that are watching are actually subscribed. That would help me out a lot. Cost you nothing. It's free, and I'd appreciate it. And before we end this video, I kind of want to speak about Anthony Richardson and Kenny Moore still being on the team, not being traded during the draft. I think this was another blunder by Chris Ballard. The Kenny Moore trade request feels a lot worse because it seems like when free agency opened up in March, you should have had a trade ready to go then. Like, there should have been conversations had. Like, when players at the end of the season, general managers, coaches, players talk to each other and say like, hey, like the end of season meetings, that's where you kind of get a feel for like, hey, do you want to be back next year? Or we don't want you back, or we do want you back, or I want to be traded, or I would like to look for a trade, or I want more playing time. That's where those conversations come up at the end of the season. So I feel like between the end of the season and right before the draft, when Kenny Moore and the Colts decided, you know what, we should try to trade you, before March, there should have been something in place then. This conversation should have happened earlier. And I feel like during the free agency period, we could have got some sort of trade going. Like, I get it with Anthony Richardson where it's like, we don't want to trade him before the draft because they might not want to go after Anthony Richardson because they feel like they can get a player in free agency. Like, if you look at a team like the Minnesota Vikings or the Miami Dolphins, they were able to get Malik Willis and Kyler Murray. And even teams like the Falcons who got Tua, like, there are teams that went out in free agency and possibly solved their quarterback problem. Those other teams that probably needed a quarterback still were like, okay, well, let's wait till the draft. And a lot of teams filled those quarterback positions. Like the Pittsburgh Steelers drafted a quarterback late. The Pittsburgh Steelers drafted a quarterback. The Arizona Cardinals drafted a quarterback. There's not a lot of openings for Anthony Richardson to play at in terms of if he wants to be an actual starter. Now, for me, I still think that Anthony should try to go to a place where he can be a backup and just sit and learn behind a pro. I still think the best place for him right now that's still kind of open is the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers or the Buffalo Bills. Go sit behind an MVP. Go sit behind a quarterback that did have to sit, that did have to learn. Like, it can't hurt you to just sit and develop because that's what he needs to do at this point. Going out there and playing, it doesn't seem to be working at this point. But I think that if at the end of the day, if Kenny Moore just flat out gets released, which I think is going to happen, I think that's fine. I think it gives Kenny the opportunity to choose where he wants to go and possibly play for a contender. Maybe he goes to Kansas City or he goes to the Rams or goes to the Bills or the Ravens or wherever. He just wants to go to a team that actually wants him. But if Chris Ballard ends up releasing Anthony Richardson, that's a fireable offense, right? If you're a general manager who's been a general manager of a team for over 5 years, you've only been to the playoffs twice, you've only won a playoff game once, you've never won the division, and the one time you draft a quarterback in the top 5, that quarterback doesn't make it out of his rookie deal, and he gets released, and as a GM, you still get to keep your job? That doesn't... What kind of dark magic is Chris Ballard sprinkling over the Indianapolis Colts facility that he can do something like that? He can make that kind of mistake and still keep his job. That's something that I would really want to get into if Anthony Richardson is released. Now, if he can make a trade, if he can get a 5th or a 6th for him, that would be great. It would have been better to trade Anthony Richardson before the draft so we could get a player that could produce this year. But Chris Ballard apparently can just do whatever he wants. So that's the main off-season storyline going forward, post-draft and before training camp starts. So we'll keep an eye on that, and I'm going to continue to go through and look into all these players and, you know, the people that we drafted and go through the undrafted free agents and kind of get a feel of what we can do with this team going forward before training camp starts and before the season starts. But like I said, we drop videos every Monday at 7 in the morning, so make sure you guys subscribe. Let me know in the comments who was your favorite player that the Colts drafted. Did we have a good draft? If you had to give it a draft grade, what would it be? Let me know in the comments, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Go Colts.
Thanks for watching, babe. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel.